you never know when fighting back won't work. And in that capacity, great win this week for the state of Florida. That was as we predicted. That what we said. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say massive decision, 120 some odd pages, thorough, remorseless, I guess is the one word, and on point in all respects. So everybody knows this was Florida versus the CDC about banning the cruise line industry, arguing that the rules they were imposing, arbitrary at best, ill-founded and totally unscientific at worst, bypassed the notice and comment period that would otherwise be required when you issue a rule. CDC says we didn't issue a rule. We're just issuing guidelines that are, basically shutting down an entire industry. They were referred to mediation. I forget now how they got back to the courts.
And remember what we said at the time was that the mediation, it was a sign from the judge that he was going to rule against the CDC. And if the CDC was smart, they would settle the mediation. They refused. They stuck their back up, refused to compromise really at all. And so it went right back to the judge because the CDC refused to settle. And what did the judge do? Exactly what we predicted. Whacked them.
Now, I say, Robert, for everyone out there, he's not just smart. He's got a good memory too. Yes, effectively, a smackdown was not the word. The judge addressed every
tore
single
them apart. 120 pages of dissecting every single bad premise of their argument.
And did not cop out on standing, because apparently Texas and Alaska also filed motions to intervene, and the CDC contested on standing as well. And one of the issues before the court was the standing argument in the first place. Judge basically said they're suffering clear and direct harm as a result of this. They have standing. And then on the substance, basically said there was no science to any of this. There was no logic. It was not circumscribed. It was not even revisited. It was issued months prior to, before the situations changed. It was arbitrary, capricious, and the bypassing of the notice and comment period. Oh, sorry, step before. This was in fact a rule being issued despite what the CDC said, and they bypassed all procedural requirements before enacting this rule. Smackdown from beginning to end. If I missed anything, let me know, and your ultimate takeaway.
That it's another example that when these lockdown-related rules are tested in court, the governments cannot justify them at any standard of review by a competent, informed, independent judge. Yeah, because the third time this has happened, third time the government's lost.
I was going to say, unless you're in Canada where the judge says, yeah, being forced to stay in a quarantine hotel for 3 days at $2,000, there were other things you could do, but this is rationally connected enough to an actual risk to warrant it. And, too bad. So now what happens? Because this is lower level. They are, well, first of all, what's going to be the, that's it. There was a stay. So this is where it got a little complicated. The judge issued a stay of his order until July 21st. Why? Is that so the CDC can basically save face and issue some rules that make sense? Or
it was kind of a partial stay, because he was like, as long as the CDC does this and this and this, then I will grant a stay until this time to give you an opportunity to come up with a different solution than the one I've recommended. My view is that CDC will now capitulate and go away. I don't think they'll try to fight this on appeal. This decision was designed to be as bulletproof as any decision could be on appeal. It's already done them damage in other courts. It's just like, the Biden administration now has an extraordinarily losing record at almost every judicial level amongst almost every kind of jurist, regardless of their political appointment. They lost on the race-driven COVID benefits for farmers, for bars, for restaurants. They lost on certain immigration provisions. They lost on this case. They lost on another related case. So they just keep losing. I don't think they want to contest this any further, given how detailed this ruling was. So I think they'll come up now. They'll get the first message the judge sent, which was settle and capitulate. Now they will go back and settle and capitulate, is my guess.
All right. Now, someone did mention that it appears our thumbs up are disproportionate to the views. So everyone hit the thumbs up. It doesn't really matter, but it's nice to see, and drop a comment just to make the chat go crazy. So the appeal, the idea of appealing this decision, the rules in the states are, from what I understand now, the same here, that if it's a matter of law, the appellate court has more discretion or total discretion. If it's a question of appreciation of the evidence, the lower court has to have manifestly erred in its appreciation. That's similar to the states?
Yes, it is. And
Okay.
here, what is he anticipated every possible argument and took it apart legally and factually. So this would be the hardest kind of appeal to overturn. And I just don't see the 11th Circuit stepping in to do so, not in this case. And I don't see the CDC trying to fight it. The CDC is, I mean, the Biden administration is now folded across the board on those other cases, those race-driven COVID funding cases, and capitulated on all of it. So congratulations to Stephen Miller and his group for winning that very quickly and very effectively.
Oh, they win them, but the social fabric damage is done, where they've pitted Americans against Americans based on race, religion, gender, ideology. The damage is done, and good. The courts can undo it, and then the diehards on either side are going to say, "Oh, it's a political decision." And meanwhile, civil cohesion has been eroded by virtue of these activist policies that a woke government wants to implement. There was the issue. It made the news, and then it quickly dropped out of the news, of a boat that everyone was required to be vaccinated. Everyone over 16, I believe. And they had 2 cases, and they were in quarantine. Robert, do you know what happened with that situation? Because I presume by virtue of the fact fell off the map, nothing happened.
That's the last I heard of it.
If anybody in the chat knows, let us know. My sneaking suspicion is nothing happened, much like when we had the protest in Montreal of 100,000 people and 5 people tested positive who came in on a bus from the Lanaudière region. Nothing happened. And the left was upset and looking for reasons, blaming it on the wind. Literally, a doctor said, well, I don't know, if there wasn't an outbreak, maybe the wind was blowing in the right direction and we got lucky. Literally, a doctor said that.